Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. In the wake of the COVID-19 risks, the National Testing Agency has issued detailed advisories for exam center invigilators and candidates for the joint entrance exam mains and the National Eligibility and Entrance Test set to be held next month. For admission to engineering colleges, JEE Mains is scheduled from the 1st to the 6th of September, while the NEET, which is for admission to medical colleges, is to be conducted on the 13th of September. Looking to minimize the risk of infection, the NTA in its advisories has called for separate isolation rooms for candidates showing COVID symptoms. It has also directed the use of fresh masks to be provided at the center, apart from guidelines on social distancing, use of sanitizers and thermal screening. The agency has issued 2 advisories for candidates and invigilators over the last 2 days. The move came even as students have urged the Ministry of Education to postpone the exams amid rising COVID cases in the country. However, the NTA, which functions under the ministry, has already clarified that the exams won't be postponed. In this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze holding competitive exams during the pandemic. Joining me on the program today are Professor Arun K. Pujari, Chairman Steering Committee, Central University's Common Entrance Examination; Professor Shushma Yadav, Vice Chancellor, Bhagat Phool Singh Mahila Vishwavidyalay, Haryana; and Sushil Chandra Tripathi, former Secretary, Ministry of HRD, Government of India. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. All right, Mr. Tripathi, let me start the program with you. Let's hear your thoughts on everything that's been going on as far as these 2 main examinations are concerned, the JEE and the NEET. The Supreme Court has weighed in on this particular issue. Several political parties and chief ministers have made statements as well. Students now on a hunger strike. But, let's not forget that these exams are extremely crucial. And, what are your thoughts on this?
As you said, these exams are extremely crucial, and they then enable people to join the professional courses, whether engineering or medicine. And lakhs of students appear for these exams. About 10% get selected. 90% would continue to keep working for these exams if the exams are not held and they do not get selected. So just imagine what will happen to them. The life has to go on. I am not saying that you don't take precautions. You do take all adequate precautions. I think the advisory given by the agency is quite justified. And I would suggest they can hold it over a longer period of time. Maybe they can give more dates and have lesser number of students taking exam on any particular date, so as to really take care of social distancing and all other measures required. And they can also have few more centers so that the students don't have to travel longer distances and becomes more convenient for the students to take exam. All these things are possible, and with the help of state government, they can easily be done. It is not difficult. But not to take the exam and let students keep hanging indecisively, not knowing where to go, what to do. I think they'll be wasting their time. 1 full year may get wasted. And in a student's life and his career, to waste 1 year like that, I think the costs are very high. We should not fear the pandemic so much. These are adult students. They are not young children. They are not small children. They are adults. They understand the requirements of taking due care, caution and precautions. And it is expected that they will do that. It is expected that the centers will also be fully sanitized, all other arrangements will be made. So my thoughts are that we should go ahead. We can spread over a longer period of time, have a few more centers for convenience of students, but the exams should not get postponed any further. We are already late by several months. So that is where I stop at the moment.
Right. All right. So, Professor Pujari, let me bring you into the picture now. As far as holding competitive exams of this scale, of this magnitude, what really goes into holding such examinations? How easy or difficult does the pandemic make it? How does it complicate matters?
Yes. See, that is very important question also. That first of all, let us understand that part, that it is not a competitive exam. I always want to correct it that it is an admission test. Because normally when we talk about competitive exam, we think of an exam which is for employment. And this is something to do with admission test. Now let's talk about this. Let's first take the global picture. We have similar exams in China, in abroad, and GRE is one which is very common. SAT and GRE, which is very common in India. But what happens with GRE is that a candidate can decide his time, fixes a particular time, fixes an appointment, and goes to a center and writes the exam. And based on any student can choose a convenient time when he should write out of the huge set of hundreds of time slots over a period of month or 2 months, and then goes on writing any time, and then it is done that way. But that is not possible here, first of all, because of first of all, as you said rightly, it is a scale. It is, and the second point is that first of all, let us put it very clear. It is necessarily has to be a proctored exam. That is, the candidate has to come to a center to write the exam where he is being supervised. Without that, it is not possible. Only thing that may be different is that because of the pandemic and other thing, a student may choose a different time than just a fixed sitting that on this day from 10 to 11 an exam is conducted and all the students nationwide should come to a center and write the exam. This is one model. Other model, we can say that anytime you walk into any of these centers and write an exam. But probably NTA is not yet ready. NTA is capable, I'm sure. NTA is not yet ready to have a very large number of question banks from which randomly in different sittings, different things, questions are drawn with the same level of degree of difficulty. Now the stake of the career of the student is so much that if he misses the admission, he may always demand that my questions were difficult compared to the other questions. So in order to be safe, that it is only one sitting nationwide being conducted. And that is a difficult task for NTA to handle in the pandemic. Now when it is being done, the only one sitting throughout, normally it is an OMR based questions or a multi-objective, it is a computer based questions. The solution that can be given is that the number of centers should penetrate even to the subdivision level or the district headquarters level. That every subdivision, if you have a center, then a candidate may have a maximum of 30 kilometers to 60 kilometers to drive or go and write the exam. And it is possible. In this country, we have to work hard to see that the centers are percolated down to all district headquarters, and in every district headquarters we conduct the exam. Then a student or a candidate who is seeking admission, he will have in that same district, the district headquarters where he can write. What is the difficulty? Difficulty is to have a computer, because NTA conducts computer based exam, to have a computer lab, and in that computer lab to make it available. These days the number of engineering colleges which are available in every district, it is not difficult to find it out. A bit of networking is required. But besides this, the other part which is happening in the pandemic is the accumulation of crowd in a center. If one candidate comes, then parents will come and drop him there. He will wait for there. There will be 5-6 more people will come. Then moreover, because it is not reachable, there will be an auto driver, taxi driver who will come. In addition, because it is a whole day exam, there will be some vendors who will be coming. So we create a scenario where it becomes automatically a difficulty of violation of social distancing. And one has to take care of that aspect. One has to make the students be ready not to come with too many accompanying people. We have to make them ready to be self-sufficient, to have their own snacks, own water, own lunch, so that there should not be outside vendors coming. Now this is all for the environment which is outside the examination hall. Inside the examination hall, it is very difficult, not very difficult, because the sittings are such that one can argue that I am handling the mouse, I am handling the keyboard, and after that in the next sitting somebody else will handle the keyboard and mouse, but then probably that can be handled. It is very less number, because the number of centers being more, number of candidates should be less per center, so it is not difficult.
All right. So let me take the points that Professor Pujari is making forward with you and bring in another element as well, Professor Yadav. Professor Pujari is talking about how, there is no need to fear as far as the students are concerned. He wants to give them hope But as far as the students are concerned, do you believe that their fears are justified because they believe that this is something that the world has not seen before? They are scared, they are still young. Mr. Tripathi was talking about how, they are adults, but they are still very young adults, and, there is still a lot they have to learn as far as life is concerned. So that general fear that is there within, is that justified? How do we mitigate that fear?
I would really appreciate the way Professor Pujari has put it up before us. He's created a scene, and that scene is so believable. I would appreciate the point that the NTA has taken care, the other institutions have taken care, and let me put before you, the candidates are not afraid. They are young people. Young people don't worry, and young people are not even afraid. People make them afraid, It's the people who are talking around who are making them see and feel cautious. So I would say that one way is we should have more centers, surely, because India is very diverse and it's far off places also where you have students. I am sitting now in a rural area, and there are girl candidates also who have their own problems of commuting as well as reaching these places. But I would say with almost more than 1,000 universities and 50,000 institutions all around, we can find centers and we can follow these social distancing norms. People should take care instead of aged people accompanying these candidates. They may have their peer group or younger siblings who are around that age who can accompany them. They are, out of danger zone almost. And the recovery rate in India is improving day by day. It's more than 75% by now. So COVID pandemic is not as much a problem here, although there are cases which are being spread. I'm running a COVID care center in my university, and the recovery rate is really wonderful. Almost, thankfully, no mortality, and they are all going back in huge numbers every day. So I would say we must go on and move to these competitive exams with all the caution and care which Disaster Management Authority, MHA, has provided, and which the team headed by Professor Pujari has already given us. Let's make use of our diverse governance system, which goes up to the village level, to the panchayat level. Let's make use of that infrastructure also and spread over as much as possible. And I'm sure we can conduct this exam without much mortal fear of spreading the pandemic if we remain cautious and if we remain careful. The year is precious, the months are precious, and for young people, this time is precious because we have to plan the next session. I would say one suggestion, maybe we can think over that we have not started the sessions yet in different colleges and universities. 31st August, the universities are closed. Maybe we can move them up to 15th September. Hold these and then let the universities and colleges start their regular sessions so that more centers are available to NTA and more students can really come up to different distant places. Thank you.
All right. Taking the discussion forward then, Mr. Tripathi, does this also teach us a lesson? Does this also ensure that our system itself is better prepared going forward? Is it a wake-up call for us to improve our infrastructure and, generally improve the system as a whole?
Absolutely. You see, we have to be prepared for all kinds of eventualities. And it's a question of future of the youth, which is the future of the country. So we have to prepare our infrastructure, both in material terms, that all the 50,000 colleges and 1,000 universities and about 2,000 management schools and engineering colleges, they are all equipped properly. And the government should ensure, the state government, the central government, they should work together to ensure that they are equipped properly with all the modern tools of education and management, including all kinds of computer equipments. And apart from that, as Dr. Pujari has mentioned, I would suggest that for a large country like India, we have to develop the capacity and capability also, like GRE and others do, the question bank, so that at the same level of difficulty, we have a large number of questions in every subject available over a period of time, and computer picks up and chooses them at random. I know that we are very litigant minded, so people will go to court and say that my questions were more difficult than the questions in another state, etc. But if we take a state as a unit and have it, then the random sampling will be so large, it will be such a large sample that we can perhaps achieve that. So in future, perhaps we may have to do that also, which of course is the software part of it. And so we have to be ready. I absolutely agree with that. We have to really prepare our youth to be world leaders. If the country has to go forward, then they are the people who will take the country forward. So they have to have the best education. They have to have the best facilities, best motivation, whatever. We may not in material terms compare with US or maybe some other countries, but in motivation terms, in our commitment to improving their level of education and skills, we should do our best.
Absolutely. All right. So, Professor Pujari, let's not forget that there are going to be a steady stream of examinations going forward now, right from September 1st. You have the UPSC CSE prelims on October 4th. There are going to be so many more examinations. Keeping that in mind, considering the number of cases that are going up on a daily basis as well, like Professor Yadav has already pointed out, the recovery rate is tremendous in India. It is over 75%. The death rate is below 2%. So all these factors are working in our favor. But are there some best practices that we can apply really as far as these examinations are concerned?
Yes, because see, as far as I can understand that a precaution by not only the students, not only the candidates, also by the institutions are important. Because when a center is being held in a particular remote place, another thing, and the owner of that center, the principal or vice chancellor of that university, if they take it casually, because say right now we have been all free with any crowd, and suddenly a set of crowd come, if they take it casually, then that is going to give a vulnerability to the spread of COVID. Now we have to be absolutely perfect in making them comfortable, and there is another thing which I thought I should tell you, that we are always talking about telling the students that you are young and don't fear. But we have another component that because I am talking about our common entrance test for Central University, we have 15 universities. And each university, we ask them to send some observer to each center. Now, the university teachers are reluctant to travel. We have to give them also an hope that please go there, and because if they say that why are you conducting this exam, we don't want to travel. In fact, it is not the candidates. Candidates are willing because they want to start their program. So it is not that it is only the candidates and the exam or NTA it is there. It is the entire community that is taking place. Now you can see there are two things that I would like to point it out here. One part is that the pandemic itself, the way the online classes went on, and the NEP itself has making this country to prepare such a way that tomorrow, maybe down the line in another 5 years or something, a candidate next to his house, somewhere in the nearby institution, he can just walk in there and find a center there to write an exam. He can walk in there to find a lab where he can do the lab instead of his own university where he has to do, or he can take a class there, attend a class there, and that class would be treated as a class of his own university. So this is the mental preparation of the citizens in the country is going on now. That is something like cutting across all boundaries of all the things. You take admission in one university, or you are going to take admission in one university, but you are getting some facilities in a nearby place. You imagine the amount of facilities that tribal girl students will get, because normally they are very scared of going to cities, and they get everything in the next door. This is one aspect. The second aspect is which people are not talking yet. See, when this pandemic and other things, hundreds of startups came that we are going to give you a video conferencing facility, we are going to give you an online examination, but nobody talked about the bandwidth to be provided. And what we really need today is that reaching to the village level with the proper bandwidth. And if we get that, nothing can stop us. And we can show the world that scale is not in handicap, but scale is the advantage for us. And that is what we are. Thank you.
Absolutely. Very rightly said. I think at the end of the day, we need the bandwidth, the infrastructure to percolate down and go down to the grassroots level so that everybody can actually feel technology and make use or make utmost use of it. Professor Yadav, this issue of, several students going to courts, the Supreme Court also weighing in and saying that, no, you have to go ahead with the examination because it's a matter of lakhs of students and their future as well. There is one section that does not want the examination to happen. They are either saying postpone it or scrap it. But then we also have to think about the others who have been preparing for this examination for so long, who actually want to go ahead with this as well. So striking a balance too is important, and keeping in mind everyone's aspirations too is extremely important, isn't it?
That's true. I wish that soon, we go to a position where we can also offer wherever one wants to take the exam, and whenever one wants to take the exam, one can take. But that's an ideal situation. And COVID may give us, every crisis gives an opportunity. COVID may become an opportunity where NTA starts planning like this, or universities also start planning like this. India is a land of diversity, we all know. And there are people who have access to all smart things, and there are people who do not have access to even a small smartphone as it is, which is required. And that's why NTA has to plan these centers. Otherwise, maybe homes would have been a good place also, and we could have had these exams there. But given situation, we really have to think about those lakhs and lakhs of students who have been studying hard during COVID, before COVID, over the year last year. And it's not only a child who prepares in India, it's the entire family which prepares for the exam, because parents work hard, siblings have to take care. These exams are almost like family exams. They are dreams for most of these families and the young people. So I think after this preparation, giving them this chance to appear in the examination seems to be the most logical conclusion, and it must be given. Of course, all caution has to be taken. Caution has to be taken by the centers, by the testing agency, by the observers, and I'm sure we'll find teachers also who will come up. Although we may reduce the distances, Earlier they could have come from anywhere. Now let's see wherever it is feasible. And we can appoint them, and it's possible now with the kind of techniques that we have. And we can also advise, and families will take care. India has always been fond of home food. So vendors may not be required. They may prepare their food and come and even give to the neighbor who hasn't brought a packet or food. This is not part of our culture. But we must move towards examinations. I think we should be as inclusive as possible, as widespread as possible, but we shouldn't stop. And if there are some who get behind, there'll be opportunities for them, and we should think of those windows which may still open if they have not come through the door now. But exams must be held, and I would say we can find innovative ways to meet the challenges of distance, challenges of discomfort, challenges of drawbacks of technology, challenges of the spread of the exam, and challenges of technology also. I completely agree with Professor Pujari. I don't know why it hasn't come to his mind. COVID has changed us, None of us was used to teaching in a distant mode over these technology, Now we have to be the producer, director, actor, and how to look nice, how to send material. All this we have learned over this period. It's like, all Bollywood coming here. And we have to have substance also. Similarly, this examination will also provide us opportunity to find innovative ways, to find more feasible ways to move forward. And maybe one of these IITs or one of these startups may come up with low bandwidth platform, which will really solve our problems of online classes, of digital platforms, and ultimately of examinations like this. And I'm really looking forward to an Indian mind or a brain which is innovative. They can do wonders in the world. I'm sure they'll do it for our country as well.
Absolutely. Very rightly said and very rightly pointed out there, Professor Yadav. Let's move ahead in that spirit and hope that we get some kind of solutions, innovative solutions in the near future. All right, time now to get quick closing comments from all my panelists with the best way forward as far as competitive exams are concerned. Starting first with you, Mr. Tripathi.
As has been mentioned by all the speakers here, I think we have to plan for such kinds of emergencies and such kinds of situations, equip ourselves, equip all the centers, both in terms of hardware and software. And we have to go forward. The life goes on. We have to have these things. We owe to our next generation, the young generation, that we enable them to develop their skills, to develop their knowledge and go forward. And therefore, all the handicaps and all these obstructions, we have to find proper solution. We, of course, have to expand the coverage to cover as far as possible. And in this context, I will refer to what the Prime Minister said about taking optical fibers to every village. So every nook and corner of the country has to be covered with the covered and enabled with technology so that nobody suffers on that account. But we have to move ahead.
All right, Professor Pujari.
I have a message to the candidates saying that exam by itself is stressful. So COVID is not going to give you more stress than the preparation for the exam or writing for the exam. So be relaxed. Try to maybe a bit of preparation for you to reach in fact, only difficulty is you are reaching to the center. Inside the center, whether it is COVID or no COVID, you have the same environment. So be relaxed, somehow reach your center by the support that is given by the district administration and other things. And in a very free mind and other things, write your exam. You will yourself will realize that pandemic has not affected your exam. With this, my best wishes to all the candidates who are coming.
Absolutely. And Professor Yadav, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
I would join Professor Pujari and Mr. Tripathi in saying that we must move ahead. Maybe this exam opens up the way to the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister, Digital India, where the bandwidth and optical fiber reaches everywhere. But my message would be to the entire family of the candidate. Be with the candidate. Don't make him afraid. Say everything will be fine. As we say, all will be fine and all will be fine. If the candidates and their families decide that, yes, we are ready for the exam and we'll take it up. India has a great jugaad technology, which is really innovative, in fact. So let's put our best brains, reach to the centers and do our best. I would again join Professor Pujari and Tripathi saying all the best to the candidates and the country must move on.
Thank you.
All right, then. On that note, I'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. What's coming out of this discussion is that exams must be held. We have to move on, but with proper precautions. We need to meet the challenges with innovative solutions. Exams will provide us with opportunities for the future. This is the matter of the future of lakhs of aspirants, and too much of time and effort has been put in by many just to squander it away. Be relaxed and make most of what you have. Let's move ahead positively, stay calm, and all will be well. I'd like to wish everyone or all the aspirants on behalf of all the panelists as well, all the very best for your examinations. Do well. With that, it's a wrap. See you again next time.